Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of The GOAT, where we talk about all kinds of GOAT-related topics. And tonight, we have a GOAT of all GOATs. I can't wait to introduce him. But Julie, last week's show, oh my goodness.
It was
What
a
did
good
you
one.
think with Jake Owens, baseball, GOAT giant?
Oh,
What,
he's
what
just
did you think?
a great kid. Great kid.
Oh man, his attitude is so amazing, and his ability to focus. He had the ability to get his heart rate like within this big of a frame every time he stepped into the batter's box. It was amazing. I absolutely loved it. So
Yeah, he
anyway,
needed a formula. Is all he needed. A formula to plug in, and he was good to go.
he is a champion. So tonight we got a GOAT of all GOATs. And I'm not going to do much introduction because we have a little introduction for him, Julie. So let's
Yeah, ready
jump
for
right
that?
into it.
Right. Give me just 1 second,
We only
and we
need
will.
one or two.
Yeah. All right. Here we go.
The Kansas City Chiefs' of excellence at the center position is as underrated as the position itself. P.J. Holland and Jack Grunny are both in the Chiefs Hall of Fame, and now they have company. Tim Grunhard played 11 seasons in the NFL, all with the Kansas City Chiefs. A second-round pick in 1990, Grunhard came with a championship pedigree. He was a star on the 1988 Notre Dame National Championship team coached by Lou Holtz. The tough Chicago native played in 169 games for the Chiefs, 1990 to 2000, starting 164 of these. He was in the middle of some of the best offensive lines ever to play in the NFL, and in 1995 helped the Chiefs achieve the best rushing total in the league. He led the Chiefs to the AFC Championship game in 1993 and 3 AFC West titles during his career. Grunhard was named to the 1999 Pro Bowl. Following his playing career, Grunhard has been a football coach in the high school and the college ranks. The newest member of the Chiefs Hall of Fame, center, number 61, Tim Grunhard.
You ready?
I'm ready.
Here he is.
The man, the myth, the legend. Tim
There he is.
Grunhard. Yeah, the crowd goes wild.
It's great to be on with you guys right here on Triumph. The GOAT. I love the name of your podcast. And Dr. Jeff Miner and I have worked together over the last couple of years, and I've learned a lot from him, and really excited to come out of the program and visit with him and talk to all the great followers of this podcast and tell some great stories, and maybe learn a couple lessons or two.
Yay! Well, I know Julie has been preparing. Julie prepares for these podcasts like nobody's business. It's like a sportscaster. She is like the announcer. She's feeding the statistics. She's got all the information. She knows all these questions. And I'm like, well, Julie, why don't you just come on and ask these questions?
May as well. May as well. It's so much fun. I really like doing research. After I do it and research somebody for a week, I really feel like I know them. Before I even meet them. It's like, wow, I just know so much about you. It's amazing what you can find online.
Well, we have one that I want to kind of start with. And then, Tim, what we'd like to do is talk to you a little bit about, you are a true GOAT. You're a Hall of Famer. You're like the people that we all aspire to be. And what I want to hear a little bit about the journey of what it takes, all the good stuff and the hard stuff and all the lessons that you've learned along the way. But I want to start with, you had a helmet of multicolors.
That's where I was going to start. I was going to start way back, 20 months old.
You had a helmet of many colors. Could you tell us what that means, Tim?
Wow, that's a great story. So in 1971, my Aunt Kay, who lived in Truth or Consequences, New Mexico, of all places, and she came up to Chicago to visit her sister, and it was right around my birthday. So she brought me a bright new shiny red Chiefs helmet. And as soon as I got that Chiefs helmet to Jeff and Julie, I started to cry because I always loved the University of Notre Dame football. And I didn't really know anything else other than Notre Dame football, maybe the Chicago Bears. But every Sunday morning, I would get up, and Sunday, I'm not misspeaking. I'd get up before I went to church with my family and go on PBS and watch the replays of the Notre Dame football game. That was how I ate my cereal, my Cheerios in the morning, watching Notre Dame football. So my dad kind of realized that I was crying because I didn't have a Notre Dame helmet, and he spray painted over the top of my Chiefs helmet a gold cover to cover up the Chiefs and made it a Notre Dame helmet. Well, I wore that helmet everywhere. I wore it all summer long, whether it was in the backyard playing baseball. I was the only baseball player wearing a helmet. Whether it was going to the pool, I was wearing my Notre Dame helmet. I thought it was the coolest thing. And I wore it so much, Julie, that it kind of wore off the gold, and the Kansas City Chief emblem and the red came floating through. And then you fast forward 20 years later, and I was drafted by the Kansas City Chiefs. And really, the only two teams I ever played for were the University of Notre Dame and the Kansas City Chiefs. So a little premonition.
Yeah.
My dad.
You think
Foreshadowing.
you think she's the one that made that happen? Sort of was like fate by her giving that to you,
Right.
I certainly believe in fate. I think it's, it didn't hurt that the Chiefs won the Super Bowl that year. So that was probably the only helmet that was in the Ace True Value hardware store in Truth or Consequences, New Mexico.
I was wondering why she picked the Chiefs helmet.
But so it was a special, and I forgot all about the story. And Sarah, my wife, and I were going through some old photos, and I found that picture, and I remembered that whole situation, and remembered the Chiefs helmet, and then of course the Notre Dame helmet, and just a funny coincidence that happened in my life, and my life's been full of funny coincidences. So I've had a lot of fun with those.
You got any more that are just as cool as that?
We'll dig in. I'm sure that when Jeff asks some questions, I'll have some great anecdotes for him. But first of all, I just want to tell everybody out there in Kansas City and really all over the country, thank you for all the support that you've given me as a football player. I know my job is to be as an entertainer, and my job was to entertain, but I always felt that there was a connection between me, and I was so blessed with this, the connection between me and the regular Joe fan, kind of a kindred spirit. And I kind of grew up with the idea that, I never met a Chicago Bear football player. I never was able to be around superstar athletes. So the very first time I ever met a superstar athlete, I was waiting in line for about 2.5 hours for an autograph. I'm not going to tell you who it was because I don't want to embarrass the guy, but he was a Chicago Bear football player. And I went to get the autograph, and he never even looked up. He kind of signed it and just went on to the next person. And I was excited to get the autograph, but I was also hurt. I was like, I waited so long, and all I wanted that person to do was to have contact with me, give me some eye contact, or just share a little bit of a second or two, say hello. So I swore that if I ever had that opportunity, that I would always share a moment or make eye contact or let people know that they're important. And then I've been able to do that. And the Kansas City Chief fan and the NFL fan and Kansas City has been great to me. And I'm hoping that I was able to share my experiences with them.
Well, Tim, speaking of that, just like the kingdom, and you're leading into, you really believe that theory. You really have lived that with creating the kingdom and bringing that to light in Kansas City, the connection between the fans and the athletes. You've done a lot of that. You started that, actually, didn't you?
Yeah, it says, I've got right here that he epitomizes what it means to be a chief.
Wow.
And that is, that is a legacy. That's more so than what you did on the field or anything like that, really. I think that's a great legacy to have.
If I could share one thing with anybody who's out there watching or listening, is trying to figure out a way to connect, or a way to maybe go to the next level, whether it's sports, whether it's in the business world, or whether it's just relationships at home. Lou Holtz, my coach, and I'm going to give you my best Lou Holtz invitation here in a second, but he used to always talk about pride. And he would say that pride is personal responsibility and daily excellence. So pride, you have to every day try to find a way to have pride in what you're doing. You get up in the morning, you have pride in the way you brush your teeth. When you're getting in the car, the pride in the way you drive your car. When you go to work, have pride in what you're doing at work. And those relationships at work, relationships at home, relationships with friends, have pride in what you're doing. You have to have personal responsibility and daily excellence. And I really and truly believe it is a personal responsibility to put your best foot forward. To find an opportunity every day to make a difference in somebody's life, or even in your life. And I've tried to do that. Now, listen, I'm not perfect. I've had my ups and downs, and I've disappointed and I'm pleased. But every day I have tried to find a way to make a difference, whether it's in my life or somebody else's life. And to me, that's a goal. That's a quest. That's who I am. And that's what I try to get across to people.
Right.
Well, it comes across, because that is the essence of goatness, at least as we present it on our, and you definitely.
Thank you, Julie.
So, Tim,
is that you making that noise, Jeff? That dinging, that tapping
noise myself. I don't know what that is.
I don't know either. I thought maybe you were just tapping your fingers on the table or something.
But I do hear it.
Yeah.
So Tim, it's like we always hear, we hear a lot of the great stories and the positive things going through football, and we hear that the accomplishments and the great overcomings and all that kind of stuff. But what we don't often hear is the real crap that goes on in professional football. It's like, I was talking to John McGraw and the other day, and he was talking about, you didn't want to show a weakness. You didn't want to show any kind of looking bad. You always had to portray a certain way. And that takes a toll on somebody, doesn't it?
Yeah, the first thing, and Doc, you and I have talked about this many, many times, and I think the first thing you learn as an athlete, whether it's in T-ball or through Pop Warner football or high school athletics, college athletes, or even professional, is you almost have to be a pleaser. Right. And to the extent that you kind of lose yourself, you're always worried about other people. In college football and in the NFL, everything you do on the practice field is filmed. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to please your coaches, and you forget about pleasing yourself.
Right.
And so therein lies what I think a lot of athletes fall into, and they bring it into their regular lives, is you're always trying to please everybody else, and it's so hard to do, if not impossible. And by doing that, you get in this quagmire, and it's like the two mice that fell into the vat of milk. I'm sure you heard this story before. Well, one of the mice got in that vat of milk and started to just freak out, and was just moving around so much, and it drowned. The other mouse decided, okay, I'm going to go nice and slow and steady. I'm going to go about my business. I'm going to figure out what I need to do to take care of myself, and just slowly turn till that milk turned to butter, and they walked out. Right. So that's the way you have to be in life, is, so many times we're trying to please somebody, and by pleasing people, you just speed everything up. And by the time you're all said and done, you're drowning. And that's what
exactly right. And that ties right into things like opiates. You're taking the opiates to please the administration or the fans or whoever, and it turns everything that you're doing, it's about everybody else at that point. You are the face. You are, like, people are watching you. So it's like, athletes tend to go to extremes to be able to play and to hide things and to not be real, because they don't think that their issues should be put out there, or they should be vulnerable.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things that this machoism of sport. I don't care if it's men's sports or women's sports. I don't think that the word machoism has any kind of gender to it. It's just you're always trying to, be tougher and maybe at the sacrifice of your body. And yeah, I like your example of the opioids and people take those and so that they can go and practice, and maybe they're doing more harm to their body, both mentally and physically, just by doing that instead of maybe slowing down and have enough confidence. And I was one of those people. Not per se the opioid part of it, but through alcohol and different things, I was trying to solve different problems, but creating other ones. But once again, getting back to the pleaser, I never thought, I put myself in bad situations in practice. I never took a day off. Because you know what? I didn't have confidence in myself. I said, I better be out there, because if somebody else gets into my spot, if somebody else takes my place, they're going to see that maybe they're better. And I should have had confidence in myself to know, listen, I'm just going to do what I do and do it to the best of my ability, and it should be good enough. But an athlete doesn't think that way. So you look for things to cover up the pain. You look for things to solve your problems, whether it's drugs or alcohol or anything else. And next thing you know, that's the major problem. It's not the problem of getting on the field. It's a problem of staying on the field because of the issues you have.
Is that an issue like you saw firsthand? 11 years worth of people coming through and going, and is that a big issue in sports? I've worked a lot in different sports, and it's an issue because I work with those people a lot. But is it a big issue in sports in your mind, Tim, of we're allowing too much of the opiate use, or people are using alcohol or to escape, to get away from all the pressure that they're dealing with, trying to please?
Yeah, and it's not just sports, as we know, it's life. I mean, everybody out there is, everybody's trying to please other people and to do things maybe above and beyond what they can do, both, for athletes physically and, maybe the business world mentally. And you see people that they're trying to escape. And the only way they know to escape is through drugs and alcohol. And you're seeing it as young as people, kids that are 14, 15 years old. And you're seeing it all the way through to NFL players. One of the things that NFL players, and really any sport, but really it doesn't matter when it is. Mike Webster, who is my mentor, he used to say, it all ends for everybody, some sooner than others, but it all ends. And so, you may have an opportunity to play 11 years in the NFL like I did, or maybe you play 1 year, but it ends. It's going to end. How do you deal with it when it does end? And therein lies the crux, that adrenaline rush, that excitement, that feeling the adrenaline of running onto a stadium with 80,000 people dressed in red cheering for you. Then all of a sudden it's gone. And it's like a death, because you can't control. I would like to, that was my identity. And, somebody told me at the age of 32 years old that, you can no longer do that. That's not who you are.
Right.
And I didn't get to choose that. Right. But I knew that was part of the when I signed my name on the dotted line to play athletics, I knew it was going to come to an end. But you don't realize that you try to chase. It's like any other drug. You're always chasing that high.
Yes.
And for me, chasing that high, the adrenaline would cause a lot of issues. And you got to work through those. You got to have strong people, and a strong wife like I did, and people like you, Jeff, that you go and see and talk to, and good friends, because you don't realize you're doing it until it's too late. And by that time, you just hope that you haven't ruined things enough. So it's a great lesson. And I hope everybody out there realizes that, it's going to end for everybody. And when it does end, you got to deal with it. Just another thing that you have to challenge yourself in, whether it's, hey, can I run a 4.440 or can I run a 4.540? Well, when you're done playing, can I adapt and get into the real world and real life without having these issues? And you got to be cognizant of those problems.
Right.
how did you adapt when you were done? What did you do?
Well, it took me a long time. I mean, I'm not perfect at what I did. I fell into issues with drugs and alcohol, and just trying to chase that adrenaline. And lucky I had a great support system, and a great wife, and great kids, and like I said, everybody out there has issues and problems. And the biggest mistake that people make, the biggest mistake that people try to deal with things on their own because they think that they're big enough and tough enough and strong enough. And I see somebody came on and said military transition and civil life. I agree wholeheartedly. In the military, you're under control, you're under a command, and you're used to people. There's always somebody a little bit higher is telling you what to do, and you're trying to please that person. And the next thing you know, it's over.
Right.
You do. And you're looking
you're lost
to cope with that. And I'm telling you, there's been a lot of bad stories of people who had not had the opportunity to make those good decisions. I've lost a lot of really good friends of mine who I played in the NFL with who couldn't make that transition. So I was lucky that I was able to make that transition. But it was a bumpy road now. Don't underestimate how bumpy it was. But you know what? That made me stronger as a person. So now, when I go and coach my kids in high school, or I have my kids here, I can share my stories with them and let them know that, you know what? That big, strong guy, that big guy that's going into the Chiefs Hall of Fame, boy, he had his issues too. Yes. So don't think that you're the only one in that boat.
Oh, thank you for saying that, Tim. That is so valuable to so many athletes, professional and high school. And it's like, if you're struggling at that point, it's like, get help at that point. It used to be you weren't allowed to. It's like, no, you're playing and you can't show any weakness. Don't do that. But you're now going to be a high school coach, and you can ask these kids, what's going on? You're going to go there with these kids. You're not going to be afraid to talk to those kids about those tough subjects because you've been there.
Yeah, you learn so many life lessons every day. Hopefully you learn something. And, I was a high school coach for 4 years right out of my NFL career at St. Pius High School with a guy named Rick Byers, who was a wonderful man and a wonderful coach. Then I got the head coaching job at MEAH for 7 years. And then I went out to KU and coached for a couple of years under Charlie Weiss. When I came back, and I coached again for 4 years with my kids and took a little bit of time off. Now I'm back, and I'm a completely different coach than I was maybe 3 years ago, 4 years ago. It's just the way it is. And I think maybe the older you are, the more experiences you have, and you understand that one of the things I always tell the kids, there's a couple of things, but the first thing I always tell them, listen, I am never going to criticize the performer. I'll criticize the performance, but not the performer. Because once you criticize the performer, they shut you off.
Yeah.
The other thing is you always want to tell your kids to have confidence, because I'm going to do the best I possibly can do to get them prepared to go out and play the game. And then I'll give them the keys. And now you go and do your thing. And you know what? You're not going to do everything just exactly right. You're not going to do everything perfect. Right. We'll talk about it when you don't. But, you know what? Go and have fun and go compete. And, playing sports and doing those kind of things, like somebody thought something, sports are a microcosm of life. It really is. Everybody has fourth down situations, but guess what? You don't always convert.
Right.
You got to keep going. Sometimes you got to punt.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're going to fumble and turn it over. But you know what? You get that ball back and you keep on trying.
And you got to play every down like it's fourth down.
Right. One of the quotes I found of yours that I really liked, it for a social media post and everything about just that very thing, for microcosm of life, and you're in those fourth down situations, you gotta convert them. What kind of fourth down conversions have you had in your life that you've had to do?
Oh, just like anybody else, you have situations where, you may have some problems at home, or maybe the kids aren't doing things the way you want them to do them. And, you think you have all the answers, but, really, and Jeff talks about this all the time, you got to kind of let them fail. But parents don't want to let their kids fail. That's almost intuitive. So, those are those fourth down situations that, with alcohol and maybe you're not doing the right things and you're coming home and you're disappointing people. And you know what? Yeah, maybe you didn't convert that fourth down situation, but you learn in sports, and you know what? If you just keep on going, you keep on trying, you go to the next play. Marty would say that all the time. Go to the next play. Right. And that's what I'm trying to do, is go to the next day, go to the next play, and try and do the little things. Remember the little things. Every morning you get up and thank God that you had the opportunity to think about and meditate a little bit. Dr. Jeff has told me to keep a journal. And I've kept a journal and asked different questions. You look at those questions at the beginning of the day and the end of the day. And it's a great reminder to let you know that, hey, listen, there are certain things that you want to get done. There's certain things that are important to you, and be cognizant of those as you carry yourself out through a day.
Right. That is awesome. I love that. Julie, I know you've got a list of questions, but
I was curious about, I was wanting to talk a little bit about being a parent of elite athletes. Your kids, I think you had a couple of swimmers and football player. Which one was harder, to be the player or to be the parent?
Oh gosh, the parent by far.
Right.
You know what?
Dad.
Julie,
guys,
we know the answer.
When the pilot gets on the airplane, he's never nervous about it because he's up there driving.
Right.
There's all the other people in the back because they're out of control. They can't control what's going on. Right.
Right.
And that's like being a parent of an athlete. You are a passenger in their plane. You're a passenger in their car. And you want to get in there, you want to drive, but you can't do that. You have to believe that they're going to do the best they possibly can. And kids they're all different. One kid's motivated one way, one kid's motivated the other. The one thing I learned, especially with swimmers, pep talks don't help swimmers. They just don't, because the harder they try, the slower they go. So
that's every athlete, dude.
That's right. So I learned that pretty quick, and I would just try to give them some positive strokes and try to just be there for them, to let them vent a little bit, and I told the story today on the radio how my daughter was very disappointed. She was DQ'd in a state championship race, and she won by a pool lane in the IM, and wasn't even close. And she did a technique that the judge just didn't understand that technique. And she's done it 1,000 times before and 1,000 times after, but that judge didn't know that, and he was disqualified. And that's the way it is. She was very upset, very distraught, and my wife's like, "Hey, you got to go down there and talk to her." That's the last thing I wanted to do, was go down that pool deck during a state championship and talk to her. Yeah. And I got to her, she was crying and she was very upset. And I just said, "Hey, listen, there's something you just can't control what happened. Your goal coming in here was you really wanted to break the butterfly record in the state. And you still have an opportunity to do that. But if you let that last play, if that last swim, that last event affect you going to the next one, then it's going to snowball, it's going to compile. And you got to get past it." And she was able to get past it, and she was able to go ahead and break the record and all that. Now, was she excited and happy about the record? Absolutely. But she was still disappointed that she was the thing. But that's part of life. I mean, not every, that's once again, microcosm of life sports. You're going to have some good plays, some bad plays. You're going to have some good games, some bad games. You're going to have some bad days, some good days. But if you just keep on trying, keep on going, and just, try to keep focused, then maybe you have an opportunity to get out of those doldrums, to get out of those slumps. And Doc, I'm sure you talk with baseball players. They get in those slumps. Yeah. Every time they go up to the plate, this is the time, and they try so hard, and the next thing you know, that slump keeps going and going and going. That's the whole life. You get in those slumps, and they're hard to get out of.
So Tim, I want to bring everybody to date. Your son is now going to be playing at KU.
Yeah, my son graduated from the University of Notre Dame with a finance degree, and was lucky enough to play in 2 playoff college playoff games, and wanted to get his MBA. University of Kansas offered him a scholarship to go play there. he wants to live in Kansas City, so he thought it was a good match to go there and get his MBA, go play some football at KU, and make some connections in the business world here in Kansas. So he's doing great.
Yeah.
My oldest son, who was a hell of an athlete too, just decided he wanted to be a regular student in school at Notre Dame and did a great job. He's working for Louis Dreyfus as an ethanol trader, which you want to talk about ups and downs, boy.
Yeah.
You're working with commodities. So he's learning through sport, that one day could be really, really bad. And, you got to keep on going because there could be a streak. Here's a kid who started his job right in the middle of the COVID pandemic where nobody was driving. So how are you going to sell ethanol? So it was a tough thing, but he dealt with it. And then Kaylee, my daughter, is going to go work for 8451, which is a subsidiary of Kroger's in Cincinnati, and she'll be a digital design analyst for their marketing department. And then my daughter Cassie, who I'm very, very proud of, is going into her senior year of nursing school at SLU, and she's working all summer in hospitals at St. Luke's Hospital in St. Louis, and just doing a great job. And she's going to be a frontline worker, so I'm very, very proud of her. I'm very proud of all my kids. And really, Jeff, as you know, because you've been around me for a while, it's all because of my wife. It's not because of this guy. It's all her. I'm just there for the ride. Once again, I'm there to be on the back of the plane and let those kids fly their own plane, and hopefully they all land successfully.
Well, you were wise to give her credit.
That's right.
Yes, that is a wise man.
Yes, I'm very proud of you, but she deserves it. So
Yes, she does.
Yeah.
She absolutely does.
I think you contributed quite a bit and a lot more than you may realize, my friend.
Well, thank you. But, and I appreciate that gift. One of the things we've talked about is accepting gifts from people when they say nice things to you, which is not an easy thing for us to do. So I accept that gift. Thank you very much. That was nice of you to say.
You're doing it, Tim. You're great.
Hey, before you move on, well, wait, before you move on, Greg had a question here that I flipped up and took it down, but he was wondering what type of program does the NFL have to help retiring players transition and avoid some of those pitfalls?
Yeah, there's a lot of programs out there, Greg. The NFL does a good job of continuing education. They also will help to pay for psychological evaluations, and also going to different doctors. I go see Jeff, and the NFL pays for that, which is great for them to do. So they're there for you, but you got to reach out and get it. And that's one of the things that a lot of the guys either A, don't know how to do it, or B, don't want to do it. They don't want to be, they think they can do it on their own. And I was one of those people too. I thought I could do it on my own. I'm big and strong and smart, and I can do it on my own. And then you realize that you just can't. So I often tell guys, I'm part of the Kansas City Chiefs Ambassador Program, and it's lucky enough to be the president of the ambassadors over the last couple of years. And this year I'm not doing it. But one of the things we always talked about was our player development program through the NFLPA for the retired players. And there's so many different things out there that guys just don't take advantage of. So there are programs out there, but it is hard. It's just like any other program, whether it's a government program, whether it's an NFL program, whether it's a program at schools, that you got to go out and reach out to ask for help, because if you don't, nobody's going to just give it to you. That's just kind of the way it is.
Exactly. And you have learned that, Tim, because you're a goat. You go for stuff. Like when you want something, you go for it. You get it in your head and you go for it and you do it. And
I'm a goat now because I've been on the GOAT podcast. Before that, I wasn't a goat.
Right, you weren't a goat until now.
I'm a goat. All I needed was cool sunglasses.
Dubbing you Tim the Goat.
Well, he's bona fide now. He's a bona fide goat.
That's right. I'm waiting for my cool sunglasses that I can put on.
You will get cool sunglasses like the little goat.
Did you get a T-shirt?
I did get a T-shirt, and I actually worked hard enough to see the sign on the back. So
Yeah, we'd love to see a picture of that sometime.
I don't know if you want to see a big sweaty Grunny. That's for sure.
Well, look at the size of back he's got, man. We could advertise on that.
Fill the whole screen.
You could rent space.
That's right. That's
Okay,
right.
Julia, are we ready for the GOAT tip?
Sure, unless Tim wants to tell us what he's doing right now. You've got any charity work or anything you want to promote while we're here?
Yeah, sure. I've been doing a lot of work with Big Brothers Big Sisters. It's a great program. We have a little by the name of Zion, who we've been working with over the last couple of years, and we kind of had a disruption with COVID over 6-7 months, and you'd be amazed that when a kid, especially at that age, isn't having socialization or socialization skills. So we were at one point and just kind of fell all the way back, and we're working our way back up to where we were at, and it's been a great process. And appreciate Big Brothers Big Sisters, and then of course the Kansas City Chiefs Ambassador Program. We do a lot of work with hospitals, high schools, different charities, and try to promote the Kansas City Chiefs through charitable works. The regular players, they're pretty busy right now, those young guys. They have OTAs and mini camps and all kinds of stuff going on. So we walk in, they're the old guys. We have a little bit more time to give to Kansas City and the Kansas City metro area charities, because we obviously, are retired. So it's nice to go out and get back.
Are you still involved with the first downs for Down syndrome?
I am not. I'd be remiss not to bring up. I just became a board member for Third and Long Foundation, which was started by my good buddy Derek Thomas many years ago. When he passed away, the program is still going on and helps inner city kids with schooling, with counseling, and with clothes and backpacks and all kinds of different things, reading programs. So I am on the board of Third and Long. Just joined the board. My good friend Neil Smith kind of held the torch for Derek as he passed away way too early, way long ago. So I'm glad to be on that board and bring in some new ideas. So and of course, the First Down for Down syndrome was my first charity as a young football player for the Kansas City Chiefs, and a lot of those kids that are in those pictures are now all out of college and are all living on their own and doing great things. And I always say that those children with Down syndrome and adults with Down syndrome are the closest thing to angels. They're just such great people and great kids, and it's a blessing to be around those kids. They have just so much love in their hearts, and they have been tainted by society and everything. Yeah, so that's a great charity also.
Yeah. Great. Okay, Jeff, now you can do the GOAT.
It's about time for my GOAT tip, man. I've been waiting for the GOAT tip.
Let me get back.
Where's the GOAT tip, Julie?
Okay, all right, there's the GOAT tip.
What is the GOAT tip tonight?
Can you read it?
Convert your fourth down. Tim, that came from you. And it's like we're all going to face fourth downs in life all the time. COVID was a huge fourth down for a lot of people. But it's how you view it. It's how you look at the challenges. I talk to my kids, a lot of the athletes that I'm working with, and over COVID, it was a time to grow. It was a time to get better. It was off season. This is where champions are made. But you've got to look at it, and you've got to be able to convert those fourth downs. When it's tough, when it's challenging in your life, we all face them. You got to be able to convert.
I agree with that. And I think also one of the things that, you got to have good plays to convert. And that means you have to have good coaches. And Jeff, you've been a great coach for me over the last year to help convert those fourth down situations. And for all the people out there that are looking for a great coach to help convert in those fourth down situations or anything, go ahead and look at Triumph Performance Institute and Jeff Miner, who's done a great job. And you know what? You got to have the right play. You got to have the right coach. Sometimes you can't just muscle your way for that first down. You got to put the right position to have success.
And nobody does it alone. That's exactly right, Tim. It's like, as good as we are, nobody is a champion, is a GOAT alone. It just doesn't happen.
Absolutely right. Yep. I couldn't say any better. An old coach who told me one time, he's like, you know what? When somebody makes a good point, just shut up and because you can't top it. You just can't top it. So.
Let it ride.
That's right.
Tim, thank you so much for being on the show tonight.
I really appreciate it.
Julie, thank you. It's very nice to meet you. And Jeff, we'll see you next week. And you know what? For all you guys out there who are looking for somebody special to help you out through some tough situations, whether it's in life or whether it's in sports, you make sure you look up Dr. Jeff Miners. Does a wonderful job. And Jeff, now maybe I can go eat dinner. I haven't.
Yes.
You've been working me now for the last 2.5 hours.
I know. Have a good evening, my friend.
My pleasure.
All right.
See you all, folks. We'll see you next week.
Bye, everybody. Bye.
Bye.